Hello and thank you for joining us on the news on NTA International, reaching you live from Abuja. I am Nolin Ebel Ame. Here is the news headlines. President Buhari to beam searchlight on cost of governance as former President Goodluck Jonathan pays him a courtesy visit. Senate continues deliberation on budget. Plus, Information Minister inaugurates 7-man committee on National Broadcasting Commission reform. And now the news. President Muhammadu Buhari has promised to beam his administration's searchlight on the high cost of governance in a deliberate effort at weeding out all vestiges of corruption and other obstacles to national development. Receiving in audience the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption, the President tasked the members to come out with a more comprehensive plan of action towards total elimination of the menace in the nation's body politic. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the details.
Members of the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption, led by the chairman, Professor Ise Sage, were in the State House to present a progress report on the activities of the committee in the last 4 years. They used the opportunity to make some recommendations to the president aimed at moving the anti-corruption war many steps forward. These include the re-establishment of the jury system in the administration of justice for criminal cases, setting up of a Judicial Commission on Corruption in the Judiciary, passage of Proceeds Against Crime Act by the National Assembly so that recovered assets can be effectively managed, establishment of a Presidential Truth and Restitution Task Force, as well as taking a closer look at the cost of governance.
There are many things that can be cut out now in the area of governance, and we can still live happily with less expenditure and use the excess money for the development of the country. We are also proposing that the government should keep on promoting the various activities against illicit financial flows. We lose more than $5 billion every year. The government already has its foot on this matter. We just want to encourage the government to carry on and that we ourselves will not relent.
Without mincing words, Professor Ise Sage said Nigeria is indeed lucky more than ever to have a person of President Muhammadu Buhari's credentials as leader of government, and congratulated him for not only being a star of the anti-corruption struggle in Africa, but also attaching a lot of importance to the fight against the cankerworm.
We pray that Nigerians will begin to appreciate this government, that since the First Republic, we have not had a government of this type. And I think it's the duty of everybody who knows what is going on to explain to the public that we are lucky in the type of governance we are currently enjoying.
He said in his efforts towards achieving the aims the president had in mind, the committee not only trained and built capacity of the anti-corruption agencies, but also helped in developing a program of non-conviction assets recovery, which is recording great successes. President Muhammadu Buhari was full of appreciation to the committee members for exhibiting high sense of patriotism and commitment to the cause of national salvation.
It's a major sacrifice you made, because I don't think part of the elite will ever trust you, no matter how close you are with them. And for you to accept this and therefore alienate yourself is a great sacrifice you make, which the government fully appreciates.
The president restated the resolve of his government to take a dispassionate look into the recommendations of the committee for necessary action, especially on assets recovery, given his past experiences in government.
What has been collected from public officers and others in terms of vehicles and other assets should be sold and put the money in the treasury. Let me see whoever can be courageous after this administration to go to government, take the money and send it back to somebody who has been dispossessed of his corrupt assets.
Both President Muhammadu Buhari and the committee were unanimous that the nation's anti-graft agencies are doing well in the discharge of their mandates. At a media briefing shortly after, Professor Sage estimated that about 1 trillion naira looted funds has so far been recovered internally, but made a case for enhanced budgetary allocation to the agencies for better results. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari this Thursday granted audience to former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo again has details on the historic engagement.
The former Nigerian leader, President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, who arrived at the State House at 5 minutes past 3 Thursday afternoon, was given a warm welcome by President Muhammadu Buhari.
Mr. President, good afternoon. Congratulations, sir.
President Buhari and his guests then retreated for talks behind closed doors. Details of their discussions, which lasted about 10 minutes, were not made public. Efforts made by journalists to hear from the former Nigerian leader were unsuccessful. This is the second formal engagement between President Muhammadu Buhari and former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan since coming to power in 2015. The first was on the 3rd of August 2016. Former President Goodluck Jonathan, however, attended the National Council of State meeting once under the Buhari presidency. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And on Senate, the Senate has once again observed that the money that will be realized from the amendment of the Deep Offshore and Inland Basin Product Sharing Contract Act will significantly fund the 2020 budget deficit. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nko reports that at Thursday's plenary, senators were particularly concerned about sources of funding the budget.
To resume the debate.
It was the last plenary of the week, and the continuation of debate on the 2020 budget was the only item on the order paper for consideration. Senators were critical about certain issues, such as level of budget performance in Nigeria, especially the 2019 budget, and ways to improve on the 2020 budget.
We know that it might be difficult to achieve 100% implementation, yes, but let there be a significant improvement.
Till we sit down very well and close all the loopholes.
I know the Senate is working hard to look at ways to increase revenues. Mr. President, we need to unbundle NNPC if we have to make progress with funding our budgets. Thank you very much.
They also observed that the 100 billion naira allocation to defense and 48 billion for education needs to be improved upon, as they commended the 127 billion naira allocation to power and recommended that tax exemption be extended to pharmaceuticals.
To address the critical issues of security in this country, I would request that the Senate take a look at the budget of defense.
I want to commend the allocation to the power sector of 125 billion naira, so that the ordinary people in the rural areas will have access to purchasing medicine, drugs.
Our budgetary estimates for education generally in the 2020 budget, I want to say, is inadequate.
Senators spoke on other variables of the budget and also called for the rejuvenation of development banks across the country so as to enable them assist in the level of GDP growth.
To quickly generate revenue. And I think going forward, we must also look at the area of non-oil export as sources of revenue generation.
And my concern is that this 30 billion that I'm seeing in the budget, if that is really what has been set aside for SIP, is not even enough to support the school feeding program.
It is one thing to have the budget. Mr. President, is yet another to have the budget properly implemented, especially in terms of funds releases.
The budget seemed very credible, aspirations achievable, and we as a legislature should go all out and support it further.
That is till Tuesday next week when we'll continue with the debate. Thank you.
10 bills were passed for first reading. These include the Federal Road Authority Bill from the National Assembly. Ignatius Unko, NTA News.
And from the House of Representatives, the need to be more innovative in revenue generation was central to the debate on the 2020 appropriation bill at the House of Representatives. The lawmakers pointed to potentials that abound in Nigeria, which, when harnessed, could provide what's required to fund the budget, especially key areas. The bill, after being put to a vote, passed second reading and was referred to the Committee on Appropriation and other standing committees. The House, during plenary, also honored the winners of the Best Principal and Teacher Award for 2019. Details on this and more in our subsequent bulletin. Now to the Ministry of Information. In line with President Muhammadu Buhari's approval for the repositioning of the National Broadcasting Commission to operate optimally without political interference in exercising its duties and sustain its neutrality, Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has inaugurated a 7-man committee to work out modalities to reform the commission. Anthony Forson reports.
Members of the NBC Reforms Committee are Professor Armstrong Idachaba, Chairman; Godfrey Ohuabunwa, Member; J.K. Ehiochenyo, Member; Binta Adamu Bello, Member; Ibrahim Jimo, Member; Agbo Kingsley, Member; and Joseph Muta, Secretary. Inaugurating the committee, the Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed said members of the committee should see their assignment as a national call to help in sanitizing the broadcast industry, coming from the experiences of the 2019 general elections, where some broadcast stations whose conduct were found to be unprofessional and unethical. Therefore, the role of this committee is as follows:
to implement the recommendations of the committee on the NBC reforms as approved by His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, to immediately commence work on all statutory, legal, and regulatory framework for further legislative action on the review of the NBC Act by the National Assembly, to immediately assess and propose equipment, materials, and training needed to make the NBC a modern and well-positioned regulator, to liaise with relevant agencies to ensure the provision of the manpower needs of the Commission to enable it to function optimally, to work out the modalities for a competitive and reasonable salaries, wages, and other welfare needs of the staff of the Commission, to establish necessary protocols for the establishment or appointment of professionals or technocrats to run the agency, and appointment into the board of the NBC, to immediately establish and publicize a new sanctioning, fines and penalty regime that is in line with international best practices, promote professionalism, and serve as a deterrent to erring practitioners against misconduct, especially hate speech, violence, and spread of fake news.
To also liaise with relevant agencies to ensure the provision of manpower needs of the Commission, to enable it operate optimally, as well as work out modalities for a competitive and reasonable welfare, just as it will help to situate the Commission in a position that will put an end to all forms of monopoly, which is detrimental to the actualization of the immense potentials of the broadcast industry in Nigeria. Professor Armstrong Idachaba responded on behalf of other members.
Honorable Minister, we are very inspired by the terms of reference. We can see that you are determined not just to make the NBC a modern and a well-equipped regulatory agency. You are also interested in creating for members of staff of the NBC the right welfare and regulatory environment.
The committee has 6 weeks to conclude its assignment. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari says Nigeria and Algeria have no option than to effectively collaborate and cooperate with each other for enhanced socio-economic benefits. He said this while exchanging views with the Algerian ambassador to Nigeria, Belkacem Ismaili, who called on him. State House correspondent Adam Musambo has the report.
The Algerian envoy, Belkacem Ismaili, was in the State House on a farewell visit after completing a tour of duty in Nigeria lasting 6 years. President Muhammadu Buhari said God has endowed both Nigeria and Algeria with natural resources, particularly gas and petroleum, and therefore the need for the two countries to work more closely towards harnessing such potentials for economic prosperity. The president said he looked forward to the establishment of gas pipelines, transatlantic road and fiber optic connections between the two countries. On the political situation in Algeria, President Buhari prayed for a successful election billed for December this year. Describing Nigeria as home, Ambassador Ismaili is optimistic of a prosperous future as well as greater well-being for the people as they go into the next level. He looks forward to a more robust relationship between Nigeria and Algeria. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
You are still watching the news on NTA International. We'll take a break and come back shortly. Please stay with us.
Hey, you! And are you how they talk to? I sabi you now. You think they your mind, Abi? The person with them go help us. Baba Toros and Shangalo, Oga Lekuva, Mr. Sabi. And you know if you carry last for this one. A spear into the top corner. We Sabi say Peking go crawl before in waka. So don't look, no help anybody. No dolly, no. So go for it. Go for football. Go for all Serie A and La Liga matches live. Go for GoTV Max.
Thank you for rejoining us on the news on NTA International. Now, the media has been urged to give prominence to the successful degrading of Boko Haram insurgency by the Buhari administration rather than focus on isolated antics of the fleeing terrorists. Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs, George Akume, who stated this in Abuja while receiving the management of TV Continental, a media outfit, says it behoves on the media to partner with the federal government in its quest to rid the country of all remnants of terrorist activities.
It is credit to this government that a lot has been done in that area to stem this tide of insecurity. A lot of damage has been done to Boko Haram. They can never ever operate with immunity. What the military is doing now is a mopping up operation. And that is why we want to appeal to you to try as much as possible to be objective in reporting.
We're all on the same page and we all have the same goals, and that is to succeed and to make Nigeria a great place.
The Nigerians in Diaspora Commission is increasing attraction for foreign direct investment in the country, with particular emphasis on Nigerians living abroad. Leveraging on the successes of the inaugural Nigerians in Diaspora Summit, the Commission is preparing grounds to attract over 200 businesses to the country in the second edition, scheduled for November 2019. Onengie Fineface reports.
The inaugural Nigerians in Diaspora Investment Summit focused on sectoral clusters like agribusinesses, education, healthcare services, telecommunications, among others. The 2019 Nigerians in Diaspora Investment Summit will leverage on the current vision of the federal government to provide support for small businesses in agriculture and infrastructural development.
So at the time, Mr. President has just presented the budget, and wants every investor to come to Nigeria. We believe that this investment summit is very, very timely. And when you go abroad seeking investors, we believe that the first line of contact should be the Nigerians in the diaspora, and that is exactly what we're doing.
The summit seeks to explore the net contribution Nigerians make to foreign direct investment with our $25 billion remittance in 2018.
I'm here for investment opportunities specifically in sports, but also I'm looking at other areas as well, such as education, agriculture, as well as healthcare sectors. And so I think that with us working together as part of the diaspora, we can really help to make a change.
It is for us, Nigerians in the diaspora and the Africans in the diaspora, to invest in our homes. Who better than us to invest in our homes? Because then leakage is minimized, because we want our money to stay in Nigeria, to work for Nigeria and support the growth and development of Nigeria.
Small business owners are encouraged to register for the summit to create networks and gain mentorship and technical support from Nigerians in the diaspora. In Abuja, Onengie Fineface, NTA News.
Thank you, Onengie. Now, maintaining professionalism for continuous dissemination of verified information in the interest of the nation is the priority of the Nigerian Television Authority. Director General Nigerian Television Authority NTA Yakubu Ibn Mohammed stated this during his visit to NTA Uyo. Uduaketim has details.
Director General of NTA, Yakubu Ibn Mohammed's visit was against the background of recent attack and destruction of the station's property by hoodlums. The DG also reacted to Governor Udomi Manuel's prompt reaction to the incident.
We thank His Excellency the Governor of Akwa Ibom State for his prompt response to the havoc wreaked on NTA. We have seen the extent of damage. I have encouraged the general manager not to be deterred by the irresponsible behavior of some hoodlums.
The Director General of NTA re-echoed the resolve of the establishment to fully digitize NTA and urged staff to be more committed and dedicated to work, as NTA will soon become the real content provider for the digitization of the broadcast industry.
Message to all the staff of the NTA has always been consistent. Remain dedicated, remain committed, have a singularity of purpose. And remember, you are a staff of NTA, the largest television network in Africa. You are different. You are special. You are influential.
In Uyo, Uduak Etam, NTA News.
And our business news for stories from the financial sector. Onengie Fineface is our guide.
Let's talk business on the NTA International News. We'll begin with the report on Nigeria seeking to recover $62 billion from international oil companies using a 2018 Supreme Court ruling that enables the federal government to increase its share of income from production sharing contracts. The proposal comes as President Muhammadu Buhari tried to bolster revenue after a drop in the output and price of oil. In the latest plan, the federal government said energy companies failed to comply with a 1993 contract law requirement that Nigeria should receive a greater share of revenue when oil price exceeds $20 per barrel. Meanwhile, the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime, UNODC, has raised the alarm over the increasing importation of hard drugs, including cocaine and tramadol, into Nigeria and other West African countries through the Gulf of Guinea. The UNODC also applauded the federal government for signing into law the Suppression of Piracy and Other Offences Act, with comprehensive framework for tackling the issue of piracy and other maritime crimes. According to the United Nations, the most prominent kind of drugs being smuggled into the countries in West and Central Africa are tramadol and cocaine. The federal government, in addition, has been advised to invest in the development of the Niger Delta region and create a special maritime court to handle cases of piracy and other maritime offenses. Next is a quick check on the stock exchange market this Thursday. That does it for this segment. I'm Onengie Fineface.
Very well on Engie. And now to foreign news. Hundreds of refugees are camping outside the office of the United Nations Refugee Agency in Cape Town, South Africa, seeking protection for their safety. For details of this and more stories across the globe, here is Joyce Ometu.
Glad to have you join us on this segment of the news. At least 7 people have been killed and hundreds displaced after heavy rains pounded the northeastern town of Korogwe, Tanzania. Local official Gwakisa said the villages in Korogwe constituency had been worse hit. Reports say a teacher's college and a market had been damaged. Authorities have managed to evacuate those affected to safe areas, while drivers have been warned not to use affected roads because the bridges and the road surfaces may be precarious. Meanwhile, reports from South Africa says hundreds of refugees are camping outside the office of the United Nations Refugee Agency in Cape Town to seek protection as they do not feel safe in that country. Reports indicate they are from Rwanda, Burundi, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Bangladesh. They blame high levels of crime as well as xenophobia for their predicament. In the meantime, Turkish forces are stepping up airstrikes and ground offensive as their incursion into Kurdish-held areas of northern Syria enters a second day. Turkey's military said it had seized designated targets. However, there are reports of heavy fighting in the central border region and 7 civilian deaths recorded. Tens of thousands of people are reported to be leaving their homes. The assault on Kurdish-led forces, key U.S. allies, follows U.S. President Donald Trump's decision to withdraw U.S. troops. And these are some of the stories trending across the globe. Many thanks for your time. I am Joyce Ometu.
Thank you, Joyce. And foreign news, there concludes the news at this hour. Thank you for watching. I am Nolene Ebel Ame.